Jen,
Hi, Em.
how are you?
Great. It's turtleneck season, baby.
I like that I am in a tank top
I know.
and you look like you're in Alaska.
um, I
Is your house
actually
that cold? It's like
this
50 degrees out.
I know it's this room specifically. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's haunted.
Have you been outside? It's like 55 degrees. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding.
I know I have. I don't know what the deal is with this room. Well, you watch Ghost
You
Hunters.
oh yeah, it gets real
Do they
cold.
make it colder? Do they make it colder in a room?
Yeah, yeah. Your
They
house
do.
is definitely haunted.
Definitely. I mean, it's old.
Very old. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like just like there's had to be some dead presence at some point because it's an old house and
Definitely.
that's just how this shit works, I think.
I was really hoping that maybe we would find like something cool in the walls, like some sort of like artifact or like an arm or something. But instead there
An
was just like
artifact or an arm.
instead there was just like like old Coke bottles and like or maybe like some
Cockroach
money.
shells.
How cool would it be if you found like money in the wall? Didn't happen.
No, that money's cursed. You don't touch that money.
Oh, I would have touched it.
No,
I
no,
would have
that's a
I would
trap.
have like saged the money.
Oh, that's a trap. I think that's
Is
a
it?
ghost
Did they
trap.
they
I'm
told you
not
that Ghost
sure, but
Whisperer?
based on based on my expertise, as someone who has a bachelor degree in ghost whisperer, Jennifer Love Hewitt, yeah, I think it's probably it's a
A,
trap.
ba- a bachelor's degree.
In ghost whisperer.
That is really funny.
Um,
Um, Hi.
hey, ready for a listener question?
I'm ready for the listener question. Let's do it.
If you had access to a time machine, would you rather have one that only goes back in time or only goes forward?
I've never thought about this.
Never. Here's my thought about that is I guess I need to think a little hard about what I want to do with that. Because if I went back in time, I could be like invest in, Apple, right? I could like make some good financial decisions, or possibly be like I could stop a bomb or something like that. But if I went forward in time, I could also know when our planet blows up and get myself prepared for that. And I like that idea too.
But okay, wait. But here's my question. If you have one that goes forward, if you go forward and you're like, "Oh, this is going to happen in the future," you won't have a time machine to get back because it only goes forward.
Oh, then obviously back.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only option.
Yeah. Or is it like a click situation where I get a remote? I don't know.
Oh God, click. Don't bring that up. I was, first of all,
You also know I'm
I
a big fan of Adam Sandler,
also,
which we
can we,
just remember.
we've been friends for a long fucking time at this point. And
Wait,
for whatever reason, we are both discovering that we love Adam Sandler
wait,
movies.
okay, but like who doesn't? But we had our holiday party a few weeks ago, and we're like, oh, we were like standing outside for a minute. We're like, oh, this is so nice. Everyone's getting together. And then I was like, we're blending. And then all of a sudden we're just saying blending.
And also, you made a reference to Just Go With It that no one else knew
But
except
you
for
knew.
me. Yeah,
Yes. No one else knew, but you knew it.
so
I don't
good.
remember. Oh, it was like the I-Man picking up the iPhone saying,
Yes.
right?
Yes. But like, how have we never talked about this
I don't know.
before?
But I don't like click. That's depressing.
Oh, well, I love depressing things. I was
Not me.
sobbing
I'm here for the
watching
bubbly
Click.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah. I
Or what
mean,
do you
yeah,
call it? Bouncy. I'm sorry. You use the word bouncy.
no, because I Bouncy's not my thing, and I'm into the Adam Sandler movies. I don't
Okay,
know.
wait.
I
You don't
listen.
think Adam Sandler is bouncy?
No, like he's got a little I don't know. I don't know. I'm
You
an
literally
enigma.
bounced. You bounced when you said it, though. You were like, it's got a little.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I'm a woman that can't be figured out, okay? I'm a mystery.
Yeah.
I think that's how
We
people
so we
describe me
like,
behind my
what's so
back.
funny is like, oh yeah, I'm sure. What's so funny is though, like, I don't know, I think I had way more of an adolescent emo phase than you did because you never let yourself go that far, right? Like I
Yes.
was wearing UFO pants and ties and like shopping at Hot Topic and like very big into like Tumblr and
Very
my
Avril Lavigne of
I
you,
was
that
very Avril
tie.
Lavigne. But like I feel like it was like such a big Tumblr girl thing to be like, I'm mysterious. Nobody gets me. I'm so dark. No one can figure. Nobody knows me.
Yeah, it's also I feel like 100%. I but I felt that inside. I just didn't show it outside. I would
Yeah.
go home and I would listen to emo music and cry by myself. But maybe that's just like a teenage girl thing too.
I think it is. I think you have so many feelings.
So many that you
Right.
like do not know how
There
to
was, yes,
handle.
there were so many feelings, but I was externally wearing it, right? Like I was wearing, yeah, I was wearing a lot of Hot Topic items,
And like honestly, if just
a lot of eye
knowing
makeup.
knowing the both of us, like this tracks.
This tracks 100%. I was like, I want to make sure that everyone knows about all of my
And I'm
feelings.
like, I'm gonna hold this in until I die.
I'm like, I'm writing on a live journal. I'm then like putting it as my AIM away
Zanga.
message, my
Yeah, yeah.
Zanga. Yeah, I had a live journal and a Zanga. I was a big Zanga
Wow.
person too.
Wow, not me.
Yes,
Not
all of
me.
them. If there was it, I was there.
Wow. I
Yeah.
see. I love that. What's it like to be that expressive at that age?
Honestly, it didn't work out that well for me because it also leads to a tremendous amount of bullying when you put yourself out there that much.
Right, right.
Here's the thing, because it's also not cool.
Right. Let me tell you
Apparently, was
something.
not popular to do that.
I'm I'm talking to your adolescent self. I think it's cool.
Wow, thank you. So, like,
Um,
maybe if we had gone to the same middle school, you would have been like, "Wow, that girl's cool."
I would have been like, that girl's expressing exactly what I'm feeling.
Wow. Yes. Yeah.
Instead, I just wore like sweatpants and a sweatshirt.
Were
My
they
friend Jason,
pink?
my friend, no, they were black, like black. That my
No, I meant
expression.
pink, the brand.
Oh no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
My friend Jason has said that, who has been on the podcast, has said to me, he was like, remember that like year you were depressed and you just wore sweatpants and sweatshirts to school every day? I was like, yeah.
That sounds
That was like,
amazing.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then I wore a uniform in high school though, so
I was always jealous of the
so
uniforms.
like yeah, so in middle school I was very emo and then I went to high school and honestly wearing a uniform is fucking dope.
Yeah, I'm really
It is
jealous.
so easy.
So
It is
easy.
so convenient. I am so pro uniform.
Well, speaking of turtlenecks, the reason why Steve Jobs always wore, I
Because
think
it
the
was
same thing
easier.
is because he didn't have to think about it.
Yeah. I think I've heard this. Wait, but
Mhm.
then why did the girl wait, who was the
Same
girl who
thing, same
wait, what
thing.
was her name that she like
Um,
made up the fake
she dressed like Steve Jobs.
she had the voice was the voice real? Elizabeth
I
Theranos. And she
no,
like based
Theranos was her.
oh,
Theranos was
Theranos
her.
was the thing, whatever her last name was. I don't know. Nikki, tell us.
Holmes, Holmes.
Elizabeth Holmes. Yeah, and she had Theranos, and she was like, "I'm going to
Elizabeth
change the
Holmes.
revolution." Which funny you say that though. Oh my God! Wait, let's talk of this. I went to LabCorp a few weeks ago, and I
Oh
had to do
yeah.
all this blood work. Through the IVF process, you have to do all this shit. Right now, usually through IVF, you have to like you're doing everything through the place. For some reason, I go to fucking LabCorp to do some stuff. Let's talk about this. I went to the first LabCorp. There was 35 people in front of me. So I'm like, obviously, I'm not going to do that. Now, I tried to make an appointment online. And then my doctor was like, you need to just go in if the next appointment online is not for like 2 weeks. I was like, okay. Okay. So I go, I'm like, whatever, I'll just show up. I'm sure they'll be able to get me and 35 fucking people in front of me. So I'm like, fuck. So then I drive to another LabCorp and not as many people, only 11 people in front of me. So I go, wait my turn. Everyone in, by the end of it, I will say it was a really beautiful bonding experience, everybody in the waiting room, because everyone's fucking pissed off and miserable. And
It was like a girl's bathroom at a bar.
exactly like your girl's bathroom at the bar. And everyone's like, how long have you been waiting? How long have you been waiting? How did you check in? Were you blah, 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 all this stuff. Finally, I get it. I actually did not wait that long. I'm going to be honest. People were waiting way longer than me. I'm not sure what. I was like, this is working out fine for me. Goodbye. Okay. They take me back. I send Jen this photo. I'm there getting my blood work. I turn right to the side of me, very close, not very far away. I would say a solid 5 feet. There is a tub of urine, and it has properly labeled urines. It is not covered. It is not closed. It is a box of urines. Also, sounds like multiple urines. It was plural.
It was your. I was
I
just gonna
sent you
say
this.
it
I
was your.
sent you.
I know. I blocked it out because I was so
We'll
disgusted.
post this.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll
It was
post this
urines with an
photo.
S.
Urines with an S on two sides, not covered. So I'm like, what are they doing with this extra urines? Why aren't they flushing it down the toilet? Is this being tested? Couldn't be. They're combining all the urines. I have so many questions about the urines. I at this point smelling the urines. It is very close to me.
I
And
could all.
now
I.
I'm like, should I be calling the CDC? Should I be reporting this to someone? It is a box of urines. And now I'd like to be a box of urines for Halloween.
That was the ending of the story. I'd like to be a box of urines for Halloween was the ending
Urines.
of the story.
S
But
plural.
but let me ask you a
I'll
question.
post this pic. I'm not making the story up.
If there is multiple urine,
My
shouldn't there not be an S kind of like moose?
my mooses. Yes, good question. My guess is that it's for multiple people.
Right. I guess you
Right?
don't really say
So
that in a
the
sentence
question
that
is, right?
much.
So they must be testing the urines for something. And then what? They just dump the excess in a box. Why not put it down the toilet though? Why in a box? Urines.
I,
And there
I'm
was a significant amount of urines in said box.
I'm ill. And the
It's
fact
not
that
an
it was
empty
clear,
box.
it also like why
Yeah,
didn't they
what?
make it like, like make it maybe not a clear carton so everyone can
It was
see
a
it.
clear container of urines, and nobody was hydrated enough.
Maybe frost it. Maybe frost that box so that no one can see it. You know what I mean? I feel like there are
Is that
different.
does somebody listening? Do you work at LabCorp? Is this policy? Is this procedure? Am I being a little bitch? I'd like to know. Like maybe this is a normal thing in the lab world. I don't know,
Uh,
but I was very close to a box of urines.
and honestly, I hope it is the last time you were that close to a box of urines. Other than looking in the mirror at Halloween next year.
Like yeah, when I am a box of urine. So then I was talking to Natalia, who used to work at a drug and alcohol place, and she's like, well, we had to test people urine all the time. And she's like, but then you just flush the rest down the toilet. She's like, you wouldn't have saved the rest. Even if like she was like, I don't know why they'd be saving the urines.
Do you think someone at LabCorp is like saving it for a personal reason?
Maybe they're into the urines.
They're into the
Possibly.
urines.
Possibly maybe they're making money off of said urines. And let me say this, if it's for an entrepreneurial reason, I won't judge. I just
Same.
want to know. If you're like, I'm gonna make money off this box of urines, I'm gonna sell it to some dude online, you go. You go on with your bad self. I think that's great.
But
I
maybe
just
like
don't
be
want
a
to be
little
that close
more,
to it.
maybe be a little more secretive about it, you know?
I actually I'm fine with them not being secretive. Maybe just put the top on.
The top wasn't even on. I can't. I,
Urines.
I can't.
That's the end of that story. It has nothing to do with this episode.
Literally
Nikki
nothing.
said I'll find the pic. I will post. Nikki's probably also like, please stop talking about this.
Yeah, that's exactly. She's like, how do I end this conversation?
I'll type in this chat and then they'll stop talking about it. Okay. But here's today's episode. We have had a lot of people talk about things they're scared to ask their therapist, say to their therapist, any of that stuff. So we wanted to just talk about those. Right. First question that came in, what is my diagnosis? I'm going to give you a better way to ask this. I'm also going to tell you something. Most people don't have a diagnosis. Most people fit under the diagnosis of what's called adjustment disorder, which just means like things are kind of hard right now. It expires in 6 months.
Some shit has happened and it's
Things
been
are
hard to
challenging.
adjust. Well, also, another question I would have is does that feel important to you?
Oh, come on. Why do you think it does?
No, I understand why, but I'm saying on an individual level,
Okay.
why does that feel important to you? You know, like why?
Like, I want
Because
someone to be like, how far gone am I, doctor?
doctor. Well, that's the thing. That's why I want to question it, right? Because like let's say you get your diagnosis because really like a lot of the times a diagnosis is for insurance reasons.
Like
And
most of the time, folks.
most of the
And
time.
sometimes because we have to give you a diagnosis, especially if we're taking insurance or if you're getting reimbursed through insurance, we have to provide a diagnosis code.
Yeah. So the reason why I say like why is that important to you is because if this is something that like affects how you feel about yourself or putting yourself in a box, like just figure out the reason why before you go there.
I will say most of the time when people have said to me, what's my diagnosis or what's my treatment plan? What I think they're trying to say is, am I too fucked up to fix?
Yeah.
That's my fear.
Yeah.
Right. I want you to know that's not a thing. And you don't need to be fixed. Right. And even if you do fit under it, right? So a question you could ask your therapist is if what you're wondering is, do I fit into the DSM? Is there a DSM diagnostic criteria that I fit under that you see? You can ask that question. But
hey,
there's times in my life that I have fit under tons of diagnostic criteria that I do not believe are appropriate diagnoses for me now.
Right.
So the thing is like, you know what I mean? Like you could fit into something oh, when you're having like the shittiest day ever. And then like 3 days later, like you wouldn't fit those things.
Right. And so that's, I think, important too, right? I think, people feel like a diagnosis is like this like life thing, right?
Yeah.
I got that I was diagnosed this way. And sometimes it is helpful to get a diagnosis, right? Diagnosed with OCD. For that reason, I need to figure out how to manage my OCD. What does that look like? Like, what kind of tools can I have? Medication, what's going to be the most helpful for me? So, figure out if the diagnosis is helpful for you or not. Does it actually help guide your treatment? Does it help guide tools? Figure out if it's actually helpful
Yeah.
for you.
And I will also say, if it gets you accommodations,
Right.
right? Like for some people, like, if I'm able to have a diagnosis and then I get access to meds or combinations that improve my life, fuck yeah, that's when a diagnosis is super valuable, right?
Yes.
And I think that that is amazing if it helps you improve a certain area of your life to have that and that feels important to you, or if it gives you an identity that helps you like figure yourself out, then that's all amazing. And so explain that part to your therapist. Here are the reasons why I'd be interested to know.
Yes.
I think you could help me in these ways.
Absolutely. All right. Next
Okay.
question. Ready? Does my therapist internally judge me?
So I've said it before. My mentor said to me many times, as a therapist, I will judge you, but I will never condemn you.
Mm,
We don't always control judgment. Judgment can be an automatic reflex, right? If someone says to me, when you were taught your entire life, infidelity is bad, infidelity is bad, right? Like it's this, whatever. If you grew up in a really religious household, right? Sin, whatever those fucking both things are. And then you tell me about an affair, there might be a part of me that has an automatic reaction, bad. Our job and what we are trained to do, and what good therapists that are doing their own work is, we train ourselves. Why was that my reaction?
mm,
Help me understand this person and not judge them first. But I'm not going to say that people don't have automatic judgments, because we're human.
right.
But therapists are trained to look at themselves, and good therapists are going to therapy and going to their own supervision, and they're working through those automatic responses.
I would also encourage you to bring that into therapy, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to say, like, hey, sometimes when I'm saying these things, I'm worried that you're judging me. Your ability to bring in the conversation around, I am fearful of your judgment, can also help you take the conversation deeper. Because my guess is that also might come up in other relationships, right? Our relationship with our therapist can be a microcosm for our relationships in the world. And so for you to bring that up of, hey, I'm worried, I have this fear of judgment. Can we talk about this? Right? It's keeping me from talking through these things. Your ability to talk about the process of therapy with your therapist can help you take therapy even deeper. So that's what I would say is, next time that you're feeling judged, just try bringing it up in the session and see where it takes your conversation.
Somebody said, does my therapist already know what I'm going to say? I don't think so.
Well,
Do you?
no.
Sometimes I am like, wow, I can't believe you said that. Like,
Right.
there are lots of times where I have no fucking idea where this is going.
Well, you know what? It makes me think of that study of when therapists are like deep in the field, sometimes therapists that are deep in the field that have been doing this for years and years and years can bring forth their assumptions about their work because they have worked with so many clients who present the same way. And so I'm wondering if, this kind of differentiates between a therapist that might just be like more curious about who you are as a human, what you're bringing into the session. And maybe someone who's like, well, I've seen this a million times. And because I've seen this a million times, I'm going to make an assumption about what you're going to bring in. Um, but bottom line is, like, you're unique, you're bringing in something unique. Even though we use, theories and we bounce around to different theories, you should always be looked at as a unique individual with a unique circumstance. Um, so no, for me, I never know what my client's going to say.
No.
Um, but I have had clients look at me and say, you know what I'm going to say. Has that
Do
happened to
you?
you?
Oh, maybe my clients think I'm dumb.
No, they've said to me, you know what I'm going to say. But honestly, that just feels like an opportunity for me to take them into what they think I'm going to say to them. Really,
Yeah.
where I don't actually know what they're going to say.
No, I am often surprised by humans. Like I'm also just like so curious because I feel like sometimes when I make an assumption about how someone's feeling or thinking, I'm wrong.
Yeah. You know what? You know what? I think that's important. If we could just feel like a I don't know, a pin or like if we could pin this, I don't know. I would
I
say
still don't know how to send someone a pin. You know, when someone's like drop a pin of a location.
no
I
clue.
don't know how you do that, but it seems like something I'd love to know.
So I want to drop a pin in this that because apparently that's what we're calling it now. Um, I think that staying curious in general, no matter how long you've been in the field, is one of the most important things to hold on to. You know, we're like detectives as therapists. And so just staying curious in the field, I think is just essential. And as human beings, just to like understand each other.
I think that an ego death is a great one for a great thing for everyone to have.
Oh,
Check your ego at the fucking door.
yeah.
That I really think confidence is one thing in the therapy room. Ego is a whole other fucking thing. You will miss so much.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you are the world's best therapist, like that's great to have confidence. You'd be like, hey, I'm good at my craft. And like, here are the things I've spent time in this. It's a whole other thing to be like, oh, I know all these clients. I've done this forever. And that is not actually going to help your clients.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody said, what is too personal of a question? Like, I want to know if they also have a toxic mother in law. Um,
Mm.
so your therapist deserves boundaries. They don't have to tell you anything. You may say, hey, there's been times I've wondered if you also have a similar situation as me. But the thing I also want to say, and we literally just talked about this on our friend Kaylee Summers, who has birth trauma mama, who actually in next week's episode, she's on our podcast and we were on her podcast. I have no idea when that episode is or when, fuck knows, but check out birth trauma mama. And we were talking about how like sometimes it's better for someone to have not been through the same shit as you. So like the thing is like sometimes we're like, oh, I want to know if my therapist has been through this, but like if your therapist also had like the same exact type of like toxic mother-in-law, she might also be projecting her shit onto you. So I think like why would that be important for you? No, I think generally we want people to get us, but I actually don't think someone needs to get you to have gone through the same thing.
That piece of, you know, like us wanting kind of the understanding or connection with our therapist because, you know, if they have gone through this, they must understand. I think that's a natural part of like human connection. But, you know, we have talked about this over and over again, just as Emily is saying, that you know, sometimes if your therapist hasn't gone through it, they're not bringing in their own stuff. They're not bringing in their own biases, right? They don't have to do that extra work to be able to separate themselves out from it in order to be able to support you. So I love what you're saying about like be curious about yourself and understanding of like why is this important to me? Why is this
Yeah.
something I want to understand? And you could ask your therapist gets to say, this isn't, you know, like turn it around back on like the work that you're doing together, or your therapist can
Why would
answer.
that be important to you?
Why is that important to
Why are
you?
you curious about that? Tell me what that would mean to you. That's how we
Happy to
would do it.
answer, but first I want to understand.
Yeah. Or maybe they're not. And like also like people that have boundaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like we actually don't have to tell anything about our personal
You're
lives.
allowed to ask, and your therapist is allowed to not answer.
Yeah. And so here's another question. Ooh, I would also ask if they don't want to answer and they set a boundary, how's that going to make you feel?
Yes.
What's it going to bring up for you? Or if they say, actually, I have a really wonderful relationship with my mother in law.
This actually takes us into another question that I thought was really interesting. I've stalked my therapist and their family on social media. Only what's public, of course, but still research. And so I think that was really important because I think that everyone probably looks up their therapist.
I've never looked up my therapist. Have you?
Of course. I look up everything.
I've never Googled my therapist.
I mean, I've never like actually maybe I have. I think
I have never even thought to do this.
wow.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, I have.
Can I also say something though? I think I
Please
know why I've never done it. You're
tell
going to
me.
understand this. So I had a therapist I saw when I was in grad school who I really, really liked at the time, and now has a large online presence that I really do not like. And it started after I stopped seeing her. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't even remember why I stopped seeing her actually. Like, I don't know, I like stopped going, like whatever, like nothing like happened. I didn't have a bad experience with this person. They did not cause me harm in any way. But the shit that they put up online, I think is fucking whacked. Um, and so I think because of this experience, I am like, I don't want to know what my therapist is doing on the internet.
Mm. Because you think it would, if you found something that like didn't align with you, that it would affect
Yes.
your
And I
ability to
don't
connect with
think that
them.
what also like my therapist is like in her 50s. I don't think she's like
Right.
fucking making TikToks.
Right. Right.
But I think because of this experience, I am now like, I just need my work to be in the room, and I don't need to like have any other type of relationship or know other things.
Which I think makes a lot of sense. You're like making a conscious decision.
Yes.
This like does not,
Yes.
is not going to help me if I look them up.
Yeah, but I also don't even think I've ever thought to Google her. But
Right.
now that I'm
Which,
thinking it, I'm like, oh, I bet this is why.
right. That's actually very interesting. And I actually found that research has found that there are three key motivations for looking up your therapist. You ready? Number one is curiosity,
Oh, that makes
of
sense.
course. You have like a natural propensity to want to understand your therapist and your therapist's life, especially because it's a one-sided relationship. Number two is trust building.
Mm,
So, for some people, learning a therapist's background, their credentials, kind of what they've been through, maybe looking at their online presence,
yeah.
right, is something of, you know, I can build trust if I understand more about this person.
Yeah.
And number three is compatibility checks.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you might look up your therapist before the first session to see if their identity is compatible with yours. Um, so those are the three key components. So I think something really important and something that you have done, Em, is to think about like, what's the reason for this? Why would I be doing this? Is this something that's helpful for me? For me, it's just curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think mine was I think when this other person who I had not seen in years, right? Like this was not like a new thing. I hadn't seen her in years. And then she started putting this stuff online. And also other people were sending it to me. And I was like, oh my God, like, holy shit. And like just it and it sort of hurt the work we did.
Yeah. And you know what? Another reason I was thinking about like why I look someone up or like that's important to me, I think because, and we've obviously talked about this when we built the therapy group, is like I went to, for whatever reason, very like psychodynamic therapists
Yeah.
before I became a therapist. And so in the psychodynamic approach, your therapist is a blank slate. And I remember in college, I went to this therapist who was very much a blank slate. Like I really needed a therapist at the
Yeah.
time. I was struggling. And I remember having a conversation with her of like, this is hard for me to like connect with you because I know nothing about you. And I don't think I was looking for like, I need your whole background, I need your whole history, but
Yeah.
she was bringing none of herself into the session at
Yeah. You
all.
needed it.
And I needed it. And my therapist now brings so much of herself. She's not talking about herself, but is bringing a lot of
Yeah.
herself and her personality into our session. So I don't feel like I need it as much in terms of like trust building or a compatibility check. Like I really feel like I have that. It's more curiosity.
Yeah.
But I really felt like I needed it in order to connect with this person, and she was not giving it to me in the work that we had together. So that might be another thing to think about is like the therapist you're seeing, are they not bringing any of themselves into the session at all for you to feel like you can trust them or like figure out if you're compatible?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think that's a really interesting point.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I like this. I don't know how to ask for what I need in session when she starts somewhere I don't want to start. You can say, you can take more control of the session and say, today I'd like to be in blank, or this week I was reflecting on blank, or I noticed I've been wanting to talk about this. You are allowed to say that. if you feel like your therapist is following an agenda that is different than yours and what's important to you and your work, you might need to, one, directly have a conversation about that. Hey, the work we're doing doesn't feel as significant and important for what I'd like to work on. Here are my goals. Or find a new therapist.
Right. If every time you're bringing kind of what you want to talk about into the session and your therapist is pivoting or they're going in a different direction or they're saying, hey, I really want to talk about this,
Yeah.
and they're not listening to kind of where you want to start or going at your pace, right?
Mhm.
Something we talk about as therapists is meeting the clients where they are, right? You
Yeah.
have to meet your clients where they are. And so if you're going into session, your therapist is not meeting you where you are, you can have a conversation with them. And if they're not willing to do that, you can find another therapist.
Um, I have to read this one because I think it's funny.
I'm ready.
They sometimes mispronounce words and it makes me feel like they're less wise because of it. Is it me? Because
Someone.
sometimes I talk so fast, words come out. Is that, are you my client? I'm so sorry. What do you think of that one? Because I'm like, oh, like that could be about me.
Well, here's what I would say. I have a couple of things that your therapist is imperfect. You know, I think that so often we put our therapists, therapists on a pedestal, like they know everything. They got everything. They have every word down. We're always mispronouncing shit on this podcast too. We're always bringing shit up that
Yeah,
we don't
my mom will tell
understand.
you.
Yeah, Ellen.
Ellen
Ellen
will
will call
text
you
me
right
after this and
out.
tell me.
So I think I guess I want to understand, is there a part of you that needs your therapist to be more perfect or not have imperfections?
Mm,
Um, does that happen anywhere else? Right? Where is that happening for you? Are you looking to your therapist to be, have it all together? And if they don't, if they mispronounce things, does that mean to you that they can't help you? Does that mean that they're unable to support you? What does that mean to you?
mhm.
Because therapist imperfections can actually allow you to connect with them, but only if you are also willing to accept your own imperfections.
Yeah.
If you are someone who is really hard on yourself about your own imperfections, then I wonder how that's playing out and how you see your therapist.
Yeah. I want to talk about this one. I know we have to get to Emmalee and Jen, but there's a few that I think are really important.
Okay.
Somebody said that I actually do have suicidal ideation. I never act on it, so it seems pointless and scary to bring up. Here's the reason why I would encourage you to bring this up. The suicidal ideation is giving you information. It does, passive suicidal ideation does not mean you're going to do anything, but sometimes can give you information about what it means for you to have those thoughts. If they give you some relief, if they're giving you information about your stress level, any of these things. And so I would encourage you to bring it up and you can say, I do not have a plan. I do not have furtherance. This is passive suicidal ideation. Um, because even though, right, so you're saying it seems scary to bring up. If something feels scary to bring up, it's usually a great topic to bring up.
Mm-hmm. And your therapist is specifically trained to understand what taking the next step looks like,
Yeah,
right? If you
hopefully.
are saying, I have, right. If
Sometimes
you're
I get
saying,
nervous when we say that
I
because
know,
there are some bad therapists, and we're so sorry. I don't, we
yeah.
can't control that. The majority.
Therapists are trained to move towards hospitalization when you have a plan, right? When there's some sort of furtherance. So if you're having suicidal ideation, that can be a topic of conversation. And safety planning in and of itself is something that can be a collaborative process, right? It's not like you come into session and you say, I have suicidal ideation, and the therapist, 302s you immediately. Um, but the Emily's worried. I know. I know.
I'm
I guess we can't speak for all
I'm
therapists.
worried to say stuff like that because some people have had these
I
horrific
know. I know. You're
experiences.
right. You're so right.
I so it makes me so nervous for us to say
I know.
that.
I know. I know. Well, our training. This is our training. We
I
can't
would
speak for
never.
all.
I would fucking never. I would sit there and talk. I could talk about suicidal ideation all goddamn day long.
Yeah.
Um,
We can't speak for other therapists,
yes, that's all I
even
want
though
to
we
say.
do all the time, even though we do constantly. But we get it. We understand why there's a fear
Yeah.
here. You can maybe feel out your therapist. How much do you trust your therapist?
There's a good question.
Right?
How
Like,
chill are they?
how chill are they? Right. Can they
How
talk about
experienced
it?
are they?
How anxious, right? How much anxiety do they have? I guess these are
Yeah.
things you don't know. These are things you're
And
not
also
going to know.
things you shouldn't have to think about when talking. Also, things you should not have to think about when talking about disclosing to your therapist.
Yes,
So,
100%.
yeah. Okay. We have to get to Dear Emma because it's very long.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. I was going to let you read it because your voice is better than mine.
That is so nice. And you know what? Your voice is beautiful. Don't let
Thank
anyone
you.
tell you anything differently,
The whole
okay?
internet. Okay.
Dear Em and Jen, I adore your podcast. It has helped me so much. Thank you for everything you do. You both are wonderful, incredible people who I admire so much. I've considered going back to school to be a therapist someday because of
Mm.
what you do. That's so nice. My wedding dilemma. My younger siblings, who cut contact with our dad 3 years ago due to an emotional and financial abuse, have said they might not attend if he's there. While I communicate with him out of kindness, I recognize he was abusive to me too. Though he's apologized, I'm not planning to be close. How do I navigate this painful situation? Should I invite my dad to not hurt him and let my siblings decide if they come or not? Or should I not invite him and protect their feelings and safety? I've considered asking him not to interact with them, but he's historically disregarded our boundaries. I've considered inviting one of them for the ceremony and the other for the reception. I know my siblings are my priority, but the thought of hurting my dad's feelings is also agonizing. My fiance told me I should just not invite him, and this is a consequence of his abuse. In my heart, I just feel very alone, like no one understands this choice. Questions I'm asking myself: am I prioritizing my siblings' emotional safety? Would inviting him cause more harm than healing? Can I truly protect my siblings from potential emotional damage? I'm committed to choosing my siblings, but this decision feels incredibly complex. Any guidance would mean the world. I feel very lost and stressed out about it. Thank you so, so much, you beautiful souls.
You be my sibling. You are so kind.
So kind.
This is a shit situation because this is a fucking rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
You are doing such a beautiful thing thinking about all the dynamics here and trying to understand and trying to make the best decision. But I don't know if there's a quote unquote best decision here. I think the thing is, you're also thinking about lots of other people and not as much about yourself. I would ask yourself, what do you want in the perfect world? Right? Okay. So I say to myself what I want in the perfect world. I would imagine it's that everyone comes and we all act functioning and normal. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen here. You have said, right, dad has a history of ignoring boundaries or requests. But is it really important for you to have your dad there? Or are you doing it to be nice because you don't want to hurt him? Those are two different things.
Yeah. I also want to say it sounds like you're looking for understanding, right? Like that piece of, I feel like no one understands this, that it sounds like there's a lot of push in one direction. And I think something important, to be able to say to yourself and for us to be able to say to you is this is understandably a very complicated, nuanced, and difficult situation. And if you are someone who grew up in an abusive household, you may have learned that you have to appease others in order to stay safe, in order to protect yourself. And so this is a time I really feel like a wedding is a time in which it like brings up a lot of your shit because it's the one time it's supposed to be about you and your feelings and your experience. And instead, you're recognizing that so many other people in your life are making it about them and their experience and what's going on for them. It's like very nuanced
Yeah.
situation. So it brings up a lot of our shit. And so just as Emily said earlier, I really want you to listen to yourself here, maybe for the first time, and ask yourself, what feels right for me? What does my day look like for me? And how can I navigate, right, other people's emotions? How can I have conversations about other people, but really stay true to what feels right for me in my wedding?
Oh, we're sending you love. I
sending you
wish that
so
we
much
had the
love.
perfect. I wish I could be
I
like,
know.
here's what you're going to do. You're going to do A plus
I
B
know.
equals Z and Turkey Tuesdays. And like, I was going to give you some like a perfect algorithm to solve this. But I think it's just going to feel complex and complicated because it is.
Yeah.
We're sending you love. We wish there was more ease here.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Shrink Chicks.
We'll see you back here next week for another session.
In the meantime, if you want a question answered or a topic discussed, follow us on Instagram at ShrinkChicks. And if you're looking to get connected with a therapist like us to start or continue your therapeutic journey, visit thetherapygroup.com. Just fill out a contact form on our website, and we will personally match you with one of our amazing therapists. And for all of our therapists and group practice owners out there, we also offer group practice consulting.
And if you're looking to support yourself further and support our show, check out our amazing merch options at shrinkchicks.com/merch and our Know Yourself, Grow Yourself journal on Amazon. Also, if you'd be so kind, we'd love a rating review and for you to share with a friend or an enemy or a mother-in-law, honestly, whoever needs it, so that we can keep reaching more people on our mission to bring mental health topics to your ears every week.
Thanks for being here with us. And don't forget to grow yourself. You got to know yourself.